Hello and welcome to Lesson 2, Creating Whole Tones from Semitones. So let's clarify something really quick about semitones. On the keyboard, what is usually the case when you're moving a semitone in either direction, you're moving from a white key to a black key like this, or a white key down to a black key like this, or you're doing it from the black key, you're going up to a white key like that, or down to a white key. That's normally how you do semitones, how you play semitones on the piano. However, there is an exception to this rule. If we look at our black keys on the piano, we see that they're grouped in 3 and 2 in this pattern that goes up and down the piano. And in these groupings of black keys, you have these gaps here where there are 2 white keys with no black key between them. In the gaps, the 2 white keys in the gaps are a semitone apart from each other, in the same way that these 2 notes are a semitone apart from each other. And that's set up in such a way for convenience. We're going to explain why the keyboard is laid out that way in later lessons, but in the meantime, we just need to understand that this is the case. So let me explain semitones in the piano in a different way now. Going up or down a semitone on the piano, what you're really going to do is you're going to go to the note. If you have to go up a semitone, you're going to go to the note that's closest to it in terms of physical proximity. And same way if you're going down. So here, let's look at this example where we have this note. And if we have to go up a semitone, we're going to go right to the nearest key in terms of physical proximity to it. So if we look to our right, that's the closest key, and that's the semitone up. Look to the left, that's the closest key, that's the semitone down. But what about when you're in a situation like this where you're in one of these gaps here? If I go down a semitone, there's the key that's closest to it. It's a black key. But to go up a semitone, the closest key is actually a white key. And that is actually the semitone. Now, a whole tone, or a whole step, is the combination of 2 semitones. So, a whole tone is reached by adding 2 semitones. So, this note here, if I want to go up a whole tone, I have to add notes that are physically adjacent to each other. So I'm going up a semitone. This is the closest note to the note in question, and then this is the closest note to that. So that's the whole tone. Going down is the same story. I go left, that's the closest note, and then go left again, that's the closest note to that one. That's the whole tone. In the gaps is a different story. This note. If I'm going down a whole tone, there's my semitone, because it's the closest key. And there's another semitone, because that's the closest key to that one. That's the whole tone. Going up is a little different. This is the closest key. There's no black key to go to. So that's the semitone. And then to that one, that's the closest key. So this is actually our whole tone. So from this key here, going down a whole tone, looks like that. Going up a whole tone, looks like that. So, whole and half steps, semitones and whole tones, are like binary code and Morse code. And there are fundamental building blocks of the major scale. We're not going to elaborate too much on the major scale, But just know that in the Western music system, the two most fundamental components are the semitone and the whole tone. So before we go forward from here, we have to make sure we can take any note, close your eyes, pick any note on the keyboard, and make sure we're able to know what it looks like to go up and down a semitone and then up and down a whole tone. In this example, going up a semitone, that's the physically closest adjacent note. Same thing going down. That's the physically closest adjacent note. And then going up a whole tone, closest to that. That's the whole tone. Two white keys here with a black key in between them. That's the whole tone. Situation is the same going down. Closest semitone, closest semitone. That's the whole tone. Whole tone up, whole tone down. If we're not in front of the instrument, we can use songs to help us remember what the intervals sound like. And the different steps have ascending and descending forms. As we've seen, there's an ascending whole tone and there's a descending whole tone. There's an ascending half tone and there's a descending half tone. And we remember different tunes to help us make that distinction. Okay, so the Jaws theme. So, from on this note here, na, and I want to think, all right, let me try to go up a semitone from that. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. It helps me sing it. It helps me remember it. Descending semitone is the Fur-Elise by Beethoven. Na 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 na. Ascending whole tone is Happy Birthday. Ascending whole tone, Happy Birthday. Descending whole tone, a good example is Yesterday by the Beatles. Descending whole tone, yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Yesterday, descending whole tone, yesterday. So those are some examples of songs you can use to help you remember the steps. And there's countless examples. You don't have to use these songs. You just have to find the ones that help you remember the sound best. So we learned how to construct a whole tone from half tones. A whole tone is 2 semitones. Note, semitone, semitone, whole tone. We learned what the steps look like on the keyboard. We learned how to distinguish between steps in ascending and descending form. And we learned popular songs on how to sing the steps. So that's the end of the lesson. If you don't understand this right away, that's okay. It took me a little while to understand the whole principle of why there are these weird gaps on the keyboard and why they're only a semitone apart. But as we learn about the major scale in future lessons, we're going to see why the keyboard is laid out like that. But for now, we just have to make sure we understand that this is a semitone. 2 white keys adjacent to each other without a black key in between them. But here, these are 2 white keys kind of next to each other, but technically there's a black key in between them. So this is actually a whole tone because it's got the black key in between them. So experiment around on your keyboard And that's going to help you wrap your head around this concept. All right, I'll see you in lesson 3.